You're still here. Are you liking it?
I'm not a house key.
It's kind of unique.
Luke, I'm going to start with you because this was, inspired by your photography work. So talk about adapting that into the movie National Anthem.
Well, it really started with my family. I'm from Colorado. My father was in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. So it started, very, very young. But then, I just love Western culture so much growing up with it. And rodeos are just this mythological side of America, just out in the open air. And I loved it so much as a kid, but then started to feel kind of pushed away by it. So discovering the International Gay Rodeo Association in about 2016 was just such a revelation that you could kind of be part of this world and be welcomed and supported and create this safe space. So I started traveling around and made this book, first called National Anthem, of portraits. And it really struck me going to these rodeos that they would just be proudly waving the flag and proudly singing the national anthem was so deeply inspiring. So that's why it's called National Anthem. And I wanted to kind of create a story around that, but that was subtly, subversive and not leaning on these tropes of tragedy, but more about celebration, finding our people. So that was kind of how it was adapted.
Eve, your performance, as I said, phenomenal. You work with Charlie and the entire cast, but talk about getting the script and what you felt reading Sky.
I've said this before, but I was like so seduced by Sky. I wanted to, I didn't think it would be me, and but I never wanted to give up on it. And she was so free to me. And when you play like enigmatic characters, it can feel sometimes like it's a limited runway, but also like the sky's the limit, if that's the case, it would, yes. But truly, like it opened up so many possibilities. And she, she's mysterious, and she felt really exciting to me.
Luke, talk about Eve, and what was it about Eve that was like, okay, this is my perfect Sky?
No pressure.
No pressure.
Well, honestly, it was, to me, it was such an easy decision because I think such an important part of the collaborative process with actors is trust, and I really did feel that from the very first conversations, there was a trust and a respect. And I think that she's also just someone that I love hanging out with. and it is such an important part of the process to go out there, we're in the middle of nowhere and creating this little family. These feelings of family and love and healing, I think, really came across. And I think we really trusted each other and wanted to go on that journey together. And I'm so happy we did. It's been a blast.
Thank you.
Speaking about the themes, there's this beautiful theme of chosen family, which is so important when, within our community, and also the theme of the biological family and that healing. Why was that so important to bring in, especially the biological family, that healing aspect?
Honestly, I just had never seen that on screen before. I feel like so many stories like this are just about like find your people, move on, like happy pride. And it's and I do, in my own experience with my own family, that healing process has been so important to kind of bridge between the people I found for my chosen family and kind of communicating and loving and being there, not abandoning them. Also, just in my story, like my father coming from the rodeo is such a hero to me. But I think, there is a lot of that classic American cowboy that is kind of outdated too. And so it's been a really beautiful journey for him to be open to me teaching him how to open his heart more and to be a cowboy that's learning the language of the heart,
Yeah. As I said, your dynamic with Charlie is so beautiful. Talk about the process of working with him and how much time did you get to hang out together before filming started?
I mean, in a way, it feels like we had more time than we did.
Yeah, we had like a week of prep.
Yeah, we had like a week of prep, and I was in very intense horseback riding lessons, and I guess I met Charlie in New York. We were both living in New York, so we like had lunch one day. But he's such a gift. He doesn't do anything dishonest in his work, and it ignited me, so I really tried to match him, and I think he gives such an amazing performance in this, and I feel very lucky to kind of have been a part of it.
You also shot this on location, and you shot with a real queer rodeo community. Talk about that as far as your casting, and why that was also another important aspect for you in making this film.
It was always so important to include the real community to me, that it was just such a revelation to discover this world, and wanted to include them, the folks that I had met making the book. So yeah, we we had to kind of work our calendar for the principal photography. It was bookended by actual rodeos, and so we had no room for error. Like if something was, we had to hit the road to make the rodeo. But it was, I think, so beautiful to see that real world portrayed on screen, and to me, it was just so vital to have real, queer people populating this film, and rural queer people out there not stopping to explain or apologize for their identities, just making the most of what they have, and with this American dream.
You talk a little bit about that on set. Like, what was that like being in that world environment?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a really immense privilege, especially at the rodeos. Like we got to like meet these people and go into their safe space, their world, and it was really exciting. I was not really, like, I was kind of a loner for most of my life. Like, I was a floater, and this, making this movie really ignited me to find community. When you're reflected back from your community, like, that's, I think, maybe the best way to see yourself, That's something that I think Sky really, really has, is like people to reflect herself back to her.
I think a lot of people too, when they see this film, one of the first questions is this real? Like, is this a real community? Both the House of Splendor and the Queer Rodeo. And I lived in a place called Sassafras in Tennessee that is a queer commune. And then obviously the Queer Rodeo world is real. And I think it's just such, now more than ever, an important reminder that, queer and trans people have been around since the dawn of time, and they will continue to be around, creating these safe spaces for one another. And even when they're trying to kill us, or just erase us, that these spaces will exist.
What is so beautiful about this film is that it is a love story. There, you don't need to explicitly say anything. Like, talk about writing that and making sure that we didn't need to put labels on the characters or the storyline.
Yeah, it was so important to move past kind of what we've seen before. There's just always this moment of like explaining one's identity, and we really wanted to create something that was more about people just out there living their lives. And I think in real life, we really wanted to respect the audience too, as being smart enough to kind of figure it out and not needing those moments. And we even kind of played with it in the lovemaking scene in the barn, where Sky is like, stop. I want to make sure you know my deal. I think audiences kind of expect, oh, that's when she's gonna say she's trans, but she's like, no, not that, Pepe. I'm not gonna date you. This is for fun. And so that was a really special opportunity for us to make something that is kind of moving towards the future and not leaning on these cliches that we've all seen so many times.
Eve, what did you learn about yourself making this film?
Ooh.
Do you, Jasmine?
God, I mean, I think I really learned, I mean, I kind of mentioned it before, but it's like how important community really is. And I think like Sky is somebody who is so free, and I spend and have spent a lot of time in my head. I can like think myself into having a bad time, even if the vibes are great, you know? And like, she's so in her body. And like that freedom, which was so scary at first, that's really what I have tried to take from her. I mean, not from, she doesn't exist, you know, but, you know, that's the part of her that I want to bring into my real life. Yeah.
So tell your friends and everybody to go and watch National Anthem. I want to thank Eve and Luke for that incredible conversation, and thank you all for coming out on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you, and congratulations again.